Hello my loyal companions, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is the much awaited and much requested perk tier list, where I'm going to go over all of the perks within Rogue Company and sort of put them in order of which ones I think are the most high priority. This video is going to be especially good to newer players or for those of you who aren't 100% sure on how all the perks work and want to know which ones are best. If you do go on to enjoy the video or you just learn something from the educational content coming out from this channel, make sure you drop a like and subscribe. For now, let's get into it. At the very basics, every rogue has 6 perks available to them. 2 from the lower tier, 2 from the mid tier, and 2 from the high tier. In this tier list, I'll be putting them all within an S to D tier ranking, so you know which ones are the high priority ones you want to be focusing on every single game, and which ones you could maybe miss for some other things such as gadgets, utility, or weapon upgrades. Starting us off then is going to be Shredder Rounds, which gives you additional ammunition within your weapons, and means you do extra damage to equipment such as Anvil Shield, Saint Drone, or trophy systems. For the most part, the additional ammunition from this perk doesn't offer a lot. In Demolition, it's almost non-impactful, and for respawn mode, you can always pick up another weapon, so it's not too much of an issue. However, the additional damage dealing double the damage to these equipment such as Anvil Shield namely, is really nice to have, but it is so niche that it doesn't really fit into a perk that is always worth having. So Shredder Rounds for me is going to fall into the D tier as something you're just not going to want to pick up very often unless you really need it, namely into Anvil. Beserker is up next, also priced at $3,000, and what this allows you to do is reload while sprinting. So normally when you try and reload within Rogue Company, you're forced into a walking animation. What Beserker allows you to do is continue your sprint and continue your fast movement while reloading. Now, this is not picked up very often. I actually think it's slightly underrated because it can be really good. Movement is a really big part of Rogue Company, and you're trying to get away and trying to reload at the same time, it can really impair your movement. I've seen a lot of people die purely from this fact. Therefore, Beserker isn't that bad, and a lot of people do kind of give it a bad rap. However, it's not the most valuable perk. It's a niche sort of situation that you pull it off. So it's going to fall into the C tier for me. Cloaked is coming up next, and this is not the most valuable perk. It is the only counter reveal perk that we have in the game, and essentially reduces the amount of time of reveals by half. On paper, that sounds really nice, but honestly, within Rogue Company, getting revealed doesn't feel like too much of an issue. If you're revealed, they know where you are, regardless of how long that lasts. So I don't find it to be particularly useful nowadays, when it was actually really useful before it was nerfed. Therefore, Cloaked for me isn't super high priority and is going to go down into the D tier. Padded Steps is another $3,000 perk in this lower tier, however, it has such high value. What Padded Steps does is it silences your footsteps when you are walking or crouching, and this is super valuable. Audio within any sort of shooter, including Rogue Company where it's third person, is extremely valuable. And to be able to have this silenced while doing slower movement can be really good. It opens up different areas of the map, opens up different routes and strategies just by having this silent flank pressure or silent movement. I would probably say that at least 1 kill per round happens due to audio within the game, and so having Padded Steps can eliminate potentially that, and that is so valuable. Therefore, Padded Steps is going to be our first S tier perk. Evade is up next for $3,000, and what this does is that when you are being shot at, not directly shot, but just being shot at your general vicinity, it gives you an increase in movement speed. It's not a lot, but it is a little bit, and you hear the sound of it activating when you are shot. I also think this is a really underrated perk. I think that additional movement speed, kind of like Beserker, where I said movement is so valuable, and that extra few seconds that can get you away is so good. Evade kind of falls into the same sort of pattern of it's actually really good and kind of underrated, and for me, it's going to fall into the B tier. The last lower tier perk for $3,000 is going to be Toughen Up, and what this does is it reduces incoming melee damage by 30%. Therefore, a katana that would normally hit you for 100 is now going to hit you for 70. Previously, I would have said this is actually one of the best perks in the game to reduce the amount of melee damage that is coming in when melee weapons were thrown so often. However, they are not used as much nowadays since their nerf, and this sort of melee crutch that went on isn't as predominant. Therefore, I do not think Toughen Up is as high priority, and I'm going to place it in the C tier. Now we're going to move on to the mid-tier perks, and these have a lot of value because of the price of them. You can pretty much pick up one of these after every single round of Demolition, and these can have a lot of weight to them and change a lot of your survivability, namely. The first one we're going to talk about is Helping Hands, which is a revive-based perk, and it reduces the standard 5-second revive down to 3 seconds. This is really good, especially in one life game modes such as Demolition, where those reses matter so much, but also in respawn game modes, getting a really quick res off if you're quick and you're snappy with it can change the tide of a fight and give you somebody at your side to back you up. These have a lot more weight for respawn-based characters who actually want to be reviving more often, such as Saint. However, I think anybody who can buy Helping Hands and be a team player in that sense is going to benefit you a lot. Whilst it's not as good as its upper tier counterpart of Lifeline, it is still pretty valuable and would be worth picking up in some of the later rounds. and so it's going to be placed in the B tier for me. Stalker is up next, and this is very commonly misunderstood. What this allows you to do is move while aimed down sights at the same speed you would move if you were not aimed down your sight. So traditionally in Rogue Company, when you aim down your sight, you move at a slower speed. Stalker essentially removes this. And what it allows you to do is jiggle peek corners, move faster while aiming, having that gun up and ready, and just offers you a lot more movement and adaptability into different situations and across the map. This is one of the best perks in the game, and paired with padded steps means you're a flanking monster, being silent and quick as you move around the map. And this is also going to fall into the S tier as a very valuable perk you want to be picking up. Nimble Hands is up next, and what this does is it increases your reload speed, so you reload a little bit faster, and also reduces the amount of time it takes for you to swap to weapons and gadgets. This is actually kind of nice. It is a nice sort of little thing to have in the background, just so you can reload that a little bit faster and swap between certain equipment a little bit faster as well, although it doesn't really tend to be super high priority and isn't something I pick up often. Therefore, Nimble Hands for me is going to fall into the C tier as something that's kind of worth getting late game if you have the spare economy, but if you don't, it's certainly not worth early pressure or early information investment to. Bounce Back is up next as another $5,000 perk and reduces your health regeneration delay. When you get shot within Rogue Company, it takes 5 seconds of not taking any additional damage before your health starts regenerating. However, with Bounce Back, they reduce that down to 3 seconds, which can be really, really clutch and help your survivability, especially if you, say, catch the tail end of a bad trade or a grenade and you know they're about to push you. Having Bounce Back can keep you alive and keep you in the fight a little bit quicker, which is always really, really valuable. Therefore, Bounce Back for me is going to fall into A tier for this perk list. Then the final mid-tier perk and the most expensive for $8,000 is going to be Tenacity, which reduces the damage of incoming explosives by 40%. This is the difference between surviving a fully upgraded grenade or C4 and not. I recommend this perk as a heavy priority buy for any rogue who has it, and honestly, the amount of times that I see people die to grenades who should have been able to buy Tenacity by that point tilts me beyond belief. So do prioritize Tenacity. It is one of the best perks in the game, and surviving these grenades will mean so much when it comes to trading and getting kills and winning more rounds than Demolition. So please buy Tenacity. It is definitely an S tier perk and is worth your investment as soon as possible. Now we're moving into the big perks, the most expensive ones and arguably the most valuable. The first one is going to be Life Drain, which is when you down an enemy, you gain an additional 50 health upon that down. This is really, really good for when you're fighting multiple people and you need that little burst of health to help keep you in the fight to kill the next one. So many rogues, and particularly duelists, have Life Drain to help them in these fighting scenarios, and it is one of the best 1v1/1v2 fighting perks you can get within the game. It is super, super high priority for anyone who's trying to get multi-kills within the game, rather than just isolating one fights. Yes, this has a lot more weight when it comes to respawn modes, but I do think in Demolition and One Life modes, it is important. Also, because you can often get rushed by multiple people, and being able to take that fight with your health up is very important. So Life Drain is going to be an S tier perk. Headstrong comes in next, which gives you armor, an additional 25 health that can be repaired when it's knocked off. And this is also really valuable, really good for keeping you alive. It costs $12,000, which again is pretty pricey, but that additional armor can mean the difference between surviving bounce nades, surviving some unupgraded grenades, and just generally winning fights with that extra 1 or 2 bullet buffer that can be really, really good. For me, Headstrong is super high priority, not as much as Life Drain or Tenacity in terms of survivability, but is still really good and will fall into the A tier. Replenish comes in next, and very similar to Life Drain, which gives you additional health. What Replenish does is that when you down somebody, you get your ammo refilled, and also when that person fully dies, so not just the down, but their full completion of their elimination, you also get a Replenish. You also get that ammo back. And this is actually really, really nice, again, for those fragging rogues who do burn through bullets as they're trying to fight multiple people. You don't have to be worrying about reloading, and this perk really allows for that. However, I don't think it is quite as valuable as some of the other perks in this higher up list, especially in One Life modes. I don't really see the point of it, as reloads tend to not be that hard to get off. It is only $10,000 though, which is a nice little boost for it, but for me, it is going to fall into the B tier. Lifeline comes in next for $10,000, and this is the counterpart healing perk that I mentioned when I talked about Helping Hands. The difference between this and Helping Hands is Lifeline allows you to revive in 2.5 seconds as opposed to 3 seconds, but also immediately starts their health regeneration. So with Helping Hands, when you revive somebody, you have to wait the 5 seconds before your health starts regenerating. With Lifeline, that health regeneration is instant, as well as having that quicker reload. Now, this isn't on many rogues, but if you can get this off, it is so, so clutch at helping your teammate get into the fight even quicker after that revive. And I just think it's a very, very good perk, although not as high priority as some of the ones that are more solo orientated. It is still really good and in the A tier for me. Tracker rounds is up next for $12,000, and what this does is that when you attack somebody with a firearm, when you hit somebody with a bullet, it reveals them for a short period of time. They're outlined in red, and you can see their movements throughout the map, and I really do like this perk, especially when you're shooting through smoke. It does allow you to track those targets a lot easier. Also, as someone who plays solo queue quite a lot, being able to have someone track around an enemy so I know where they are, or vice versa, I can let the teammates know where they are without communication, is really, really valuable. So I do like tracker rounds. I think it is worth getting, and I'm going to put it up in the B tier. The last perk to talk about is actually the newest one to join Rogue Company with a few of the latest rogues. And this is Resupply. Resupply for $11,000 means that when you down an enemy, they drop a little box that you can walk over to resupply your grenades, your lethals, and your tacticals. This is your equipment that you purchase. It allows you to get that back and buy them. On paper, this sounds really, really good, and for respawn modes, I think it can work for the certain rogues that do have it. However, I never find it to be a really high priority item. I don't often find myself buying it in respawn modes because the fast-paced nature of it is just too much anyway, that I'm not really caring about my lethals. I care more about my gunplay, and in one life modes, I tend to find that I never really need that as a high priority option, and my lethals just tend to get used as and when, and it's kind of just gone from then, and it's not super high priority. Personally, I've never found a love for this perk. I think this is the one people may disagree with the most, but I'm actually going to put this down in the D tier. Alright then guys, that is my completed perk tier list, going over all the perks, and as you can see on screen, these are the order of the perks that I think you should be prioritizing. You want to be picking up the S tier perks as soon as possible, and then filtering down with those D tier and C tier perks not being super worth getting, and I'd prioritize maybe getting some equipment or some weapon upgrades instead of them. Okay then guys, that takes us to the end of the video, and if you did enjoy, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. You can also come follow me on twitch.tv/RADTHARGAMING to see live gameplay commentaries. You can also check me out on TikTok and Instagram, and my second channel, which is more Radthar. All the links you're going to need are down in the description below, but for now, I hope you have a fantastic day. And remember, be loyal, be brave, be relentless, and I'll catch you in the next video.